Just a reminder, students are not allowed to have hats on in the building. Please remove your hat in the building.
Like Joel, like started sitting on these guys' legs, and I was like, "What's happening?" All of a sudden, I was like, "Is it all right, fine job. Let's go."
Yeah.
Knowledge here today? Anybody say knowledge? Oh, yeah, I know. Oh, did you want to do the makeup?
I think sometimes people like this.
I
didn't say the same. No, I'm gonna go to different Friday.
Oh, anybody say Cheyenne today?
She's here.
So the only one we haven't seen is knowledge.
Where is she? Miss Law, you know what we're ready for? Tomorrow. Miss Law.
They'll be here shortly.
I'm about to have so much fun.
Scared.
Ew.
Let me just say what wow, I feel too much pain right now.
You feel like Katie. Tell us the chicken.
Oh, you don't be good now.
It's due today. So for trying outside.
Do we have a meeting today?
Yeah, it's a busy day and yeah, we do the 15th.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna let today.
All right, you guys put your homework out so I can see it.
Let's go.
I'll be here till about 4:30. 4, 7, and 9.
Well, why are you texting today?
I can't.
That's some BS. Yeah. Yeah.
You just don't have 10.
I only did 2.
Well, how do you think
My life is going down and up. Miss Wall.
You should be telling me later.
Why would you say a Harvey accent?
Yeah, I asked everybody if they'd seen her and they said no.
No, wait.
It's also my brother's graduation day, and I will be able to make it.
What's up, question?
Yeah. So I was like, you know, I just like going to graduation.
Wall got a 30.
But I don't know. He said,
I said no.
I could just go up there and
But
but it's like,
I said, what's French stuff?
you go to this now.
I got these. Before this is
Oh my.
that was unnecessary. You.
That's too much energy. I'm so tired. I feel it. Yeah, so it's gonna be grass.
Alright, what you got?
And she was like, we pushed everything back today, but I'm not. I was like, wait up. She told us. I was like that.
Alright, there's one, that didn't work.
I was so tired. My body was tired.
4, 7, 9, and 10. No, I'm not happy with
Sulfur
this.
trioxide.
It's 80.
I was like 80, and I was like,
Did you get that for the M?
Yeah.
Alright, what you got?
30. The way I was.
I don't know if it's Brandon Kyle.
7, 9, and 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, what you got?
I can't see anything. I didn't see it.
So I got a 30.
I literally, I mean,
It's not, that's not 4 out of 3.
Alright, what you got?
Don't even ask. Yeah, I know. So, when do we see you eventually pick up? Yes, you guys can pick over.
Alright, so if we look at the first one, what's the formula for density?
NP divided by RT.
Yes. Alright, D equals MP over RT.
Are we going over the opening here?
Yeah. Alright, the big M stands for what?
Molar mass.
You have to be able to write the formula for sulfur trioxide. So what's the formula for sulfur trioxide? It's SO3. There's no 2. If there was going to be a 2, what would have to be right here? It would have to say dioxide. There's no prefix, so that means it's a 1. So sulfur has a 1 for a subscript because there's no prefix. Tri means there's a prefix of 3. Okay, old system means there's no crisscrossing, so you do use no oxidation numbers here. So we need the mass of SO3. So we have 1 S, we have 3 O's. The mass of sulfur is 32. The mass of oxygen is 16. So we have 32, 48. Add that up, we get 80. All right, so the molar mass is 80. I used STP in this question, so the pressure is 1. The R is 0.0821, and temperature is 273. So all we need to do is divide 80 by 22.4. What's 80 divided by 22.4? 3.5. So 3.5, what unit goes on a density? Any issues?
Miss Wall got that right.
Good. All right, number 2, I asked for molar mass. The only issue we have with molar mass is that some of these are not in the correct units. So we'll put this one on the next board since we got to do some converting here. Now, given that we're solving for molar mass, I would certainly pick the molar mass equation here. All right, R is always 0.0821, but the rest of these, we need to check our units. We have 5.89 grams, so that's going to go there. R, of course, we all know is 0.0821. And these 3 are not in the right units. So temperature was what, 45? P was in KPA. What number was that? 106.7. And the volume was what's 45 plus 273? 318. All right, change your KPA to atmospheres, 1.06 atmospheres, and then 0.5458 liters. Issues with any of those conversions that we made? All right, so again, you have to know the formula. If you use the wrong formula,
M equals M.
RT over PV. So M equals, our mass is 5.89, R is 0.0821, the temperature was 318, over pressure, which is 1.06, and 0.5458. And then we calculate. Anybody got it for me?
Oh, 260.
I got 265. Anybody else get that?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, if we put a 5 there, that's why Kevin got something slightly different. I can change that. Because I just did that math when I converted in my head. I didn't actually punch it in the calculator. Punch that in wrong. Now I know I punched that in the calculator wrong. Oh yeah, let's see what I did.
It works.
Or 268 if you had it like Kevin did. Now you can put grams per mole, U, or AMU. Any of those units are fine. You don't need to write them all. All right. Issues with the opening. All right, let's talk homework. All right. Homework answers. Number 1. You should have 1.25 grams per liter or something very close. It does not have to be the same if it's similar. All right. Number 2, 78.8 grams per mole. 1.2. Number 3, 0.82 atmospheres. Number 4, 2.2 grams. Oh, no, that's all.
Absolutely.
Number 7, 57.6 grams per mole. I got 57.6. Number 9, 0.652 moles. And number 10 will vary quite a bit, all right, because this is such a large number. It may not be exact for several of you, all right. 2,647 Kelvin. If you got 1346, you forgot it's diatomic. Your answer is exactly half.
2,643 would
Be correct.
Yes. And what was 2?
Number 2 is 78.8.
How was I just not to do it?
Anything I need to work?
4.
And number 4, did you get something that's around 1.1?
No.
Okay. If you did, you forgot it's diatomic. Bromine's diatomic and it's nitrogen, sorry, is diatomic and it's, hold on, we're talking 4, right?
Yeah.
4, if you got 1.1, you forgot that bromine's diatomic and its mass is not 80, it's 160.
Yeah, I got 1. What is the?
Okay? That's what you did wrong if you got 1.1. All right, if you got 159, I don't know what you did. You can do it with either. Which formula did you use? All right. So if you use molar mass, you should have had bromine has a mass of 160. All right. You're looking for little m. Your R is 0.0821. Your temperature is, let me find mine, 302. All right. Your pressure had to be changed, so it is 0.976. And your volume also had to be changed, so it's 0.352. All right, so when you cross multiply, you're going to have 160 times 0.976 times 0.352 equals mass times 0.0821 times 302. You're going to need to divide on this side by 0.0821 by 302 to get the mass. That was what? No, it's grams because you're solving for M. Anytime you're solving for M, it's grams. It's only moles if you're solving for N. Okay? If it's N, then you change it to grams. If you're not solving for N, it's not in grams. You don't have to convert. Those of you who are talking, stop. It's very difficult for me to yell above 4 different conversations. I'm loud anyways. All right, so if you're not solving for moles, okay, the only time you have to convert is if you're using this formula. If you use this is moles. All right, then you have to draw a chart and change it to grams. But if you're not using that formula, you don't have to change it back to grams. If you're using this one,
So
the one we just used, it's already in grams. This right here is grams. You don't have to convert it. Okay, it depends on which formula you picked. Now, if you're solving for question 9, I wouldn't pick this formula because question 9 asks you to find what? It asks you to find moles. So I would automatically pick that formula because it's asking you to find moles. So I wouldn't have to do that. I would just find it in N as moles. I have the answer I need.
Okay.
If I had picked this formula, when I get my M, I have to do what to it? I have to convert it back to moles, which is more work for me.
So wait,
But if I do it there, I'm automatically in moles because N stands for moles.
Okay, Miss Walker. So for the quiz today, is it gonna matter other than whenever it comes to the moles? Are you gonna because you count on work? Does it matter which equation you use?
No,
Okay.
as long as you use it correctly.
Yeah.
When like on that equation, you don't have to have it in moles. There's not. The M doesn't have to be in moles.
Right.
If they give it to us in moles, we have to convert it to grams.
If you plan to use it and it needs to be in grams, yes. You choose which formula you want and put it in the correct unit. If they give it to you in moles and you pick this formula, then it doesn't have to be changed. But if you pick this formula and it's given to you in moles, you have to change it.
So we need the molarized formula, density formula, that in.
You need the 3 formulas we've used going over the homework.
And then
PV,
R equals,
Big M, and density.
So and then R equals 0.0821.
It's on your reference table. Anybody else have a homework question?
Can you number 9?
Yeah. You always get your reference table. Number 9, ask for moles, right? So I would pick this formula right here because it's asking you how many moles. I wouldn't pick big M because if you pick big M, you have to solve for mass and then you have to convert it back to moles. Okay, so I would pick this one because it says how many moles. I'm into being smart and lazy because it has moles in the formula and it wants moles. That's where I solve. Okay, so it says I have 14.6 liters, so that's my volume. All right, it says STP, so my pressure is 1. I want moles. R is 0.0821, and it said STP, so my temperature is 273. So to find moles, all I have to do is divide by 0.0821 and 273 on this side. So do I divide here by 0.0821 and 273. And that gives me moles. And I'm done. I don't convert it because I don't want grams. I want moles. If I wanted mass, I would draw that if it asked me for mass. If it didn't, I just stop. Okay? Does that make sense?
How many questions are on this quiz?
Same number there always are on math quizzes.
Like 6. Per.
Anybody else? All right, you may have your periodic table and your reference table. That would be fabulous. All right, Annabelle, sit up here. You need a calculator, a periodic table, or a reference table.
Hold on. And then low down is my man never really.
My man's really
Oh, Pokey.
Hurry, hurry, hurry. I gotta remember the acronym again. Okay.
You just don't wiggle on it. Look, if my big butt can sit on it and not break it any worse than it is, your skinny one ought to be able to.
I don't like how it's wiggling.
question.
This wall. If
Yeah.
don't convert one right, but like we get all the steps right, how much is that off?
-5 for each conversion that's wrong.
Yeah.
over break and wants it Wednesday.
She didn't send it to me originally. She let me
I told my department to have it to me tomorrow. She's not getting it tomorrow. I'm not even working tomorrow. She's crazy as a bedbug.
Yeah, she. But I heard she got it.
Huh?
Yeah, she's got it. I said, "No, and is she in charge? Okay, groceries." This whole year.
I thought I missed one.
We had that one that was great. She was just trying to protect her. I was just trying to help my teammates out. Figured that one?
I ain't done one.
That was the only one. That really wasn't supposed to be. The one thing that.
No, I ain't done any. Yeah. She says anything to me about it, you said this on break. Break.
And you want it on the day that it's a lead day?
And who made the Memorial Day option? Your mom.
I'm gonna tell you. You can make it as a annual leave, right?
Yes.
That's not the first time. Because I went back on the.
I know. Really?
It should be a holiday. Can you not give us the holiday?
I mean, maybe if I wasn't on it for the next day after day after day, because we also bad. I was like, I think I had those two comp days. I was like,
So if you worked, it doesn't count. What does it count?
it's a comp day that you can use at the end of the year. So if you want to take any comp days at the end of the year, you can use those on that 11th and 14th. Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So you can use
So I
that
could
then.
use one of those.
Yeah.
You can't use it on the 27th?
No.
Okay.
No, but you can use personal or annual on that.
Mhm.
So I took personal tomorrow, but I have to take a personal on the 7th for Ian's graduation. So I took annual on the 27th. And I took 2 annuals on 11th and 12th because I'm not working any of those days. I'm out of here. Yeah, see, you live close enough, you can pop in and out. But see, 13th and 14th, she's got a competition, so I had to take Thursday and Friday, and I'm like, well, that's good. I got enough days. I earn a bit 2.17 a month. I'm like, I'm out of here. I mean,
We can start on the
Huh?
20.
it's close to that.
That's still really over 30 gold.
Yeah. Maybe you're still working. Jesus.
I'm looking at it.
Y'all been working over 20 minutes.
Good. That got all this converted? Guess who thought that is?
I don't even think I've.
You're not a Chick-fil-A.
Oh, it's still your fault though.
The sad part is I'm really trying on this, but it's not even gonna like.
Remember, you studied for your math test and not mine.
Remember, my math grade was way lower than yours. And that's kind of hard considering my grades in here. You know, as well.
Oh, these come with covers. I don't have to buy a cover. Cool. Madison, turn around, be quiet. Who's still working now? I'm down to 4 or 5 hands. That's better. Hmm? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to tell you. How about now? Y'all done? Pass your papers to the front. All right. So now we've done all the gas laws that do not have balanced equations. So the last two kind of problems we have to learn to do are the stoichiometry problems. So, well, we started it yesterday, but now we got to finish it today.
You don't have to finish.
Or you don't have to do 3 questions on the test, which is worth 27 or 28 points.
How many questions are on the play?
The test has 21 questions, 10 multiple choice, and 11 problems.
Oh,
I mean,
right. So
10 multiple choice, 11 are word problems.
Thank you for not making it 60.
Well, I didn't figure you could finish it.
Stripping of that, and I just hate on
Some of you will be done in 45 minutes. Some of you will not finish.
What? Don't like
That's
long,
enough job.
like a lot of questions.
Some of you were struggling to finish that in 5 questions in a little over 30 minutes. Okay? So, 5 questions in 30 minutes. So if we mix those up, we have 10 multiple choice questions and 11 word problems. Some of you will get stuck and kill too much time on one
So
problem.
there's 21 on the test?
So there's 21 on the test. 10 are multiple choice and 11 are word problems. Some of you will be done in 45 minutes. And turn it in and be sitting here playing on your phone. And some of you will still be going at the bell. Okay? It's like that every year. But I can't put more because of the people who get stuck. All right? So, find your notes. Let's talk stoichiometry. You two get off the floor.
I'm depressed as well.
I can't fix depression.
You are the reason for it.
I know. I'm sincerely sorry.
Go in a hole and die.
You know, maybe you should give up on math and try to pass mine.
No, because I need to pass both. I'm too dumb. I don't even know why it's
They're Lord.
All right. So, yesterday we wrote this problem down. So, instead of starting a new page of notes, now ladies, put your phone on. So, instead of starting a new page of notes, Raquel, same for you. Go back to the problem that you were working yesterday.
Right.
There's no need to write it down again. It's the exact same question. We wrote the problem, or most of you did. Some of you did not, so you probably wrote the numbers. All right, we wrote the equation yesterday.
We have to get to the chart piece.
Yes, that is
I
what
gotta
you
put
do.
it in the chart, and I didn't have to put it in that chart.
Now, so yesterday when we were working this question,
Shut up.
all right, so yesterday when we were working this question, the things that we pointed out in the problem were that it said same temperature and pressure. So we said there was no temperature, no pressure. So if there's no temperature and no pressure, can we use a formula like you use today? No. Can you use a formula like before break when we had P1 over T1 or P2 over T2? No, because you don't have a temperature and pressure. You do have a volume. So we have a volume. And the other things that we pointed out yesterday is it had words like combustion, and you had propane, and you had oxygen. So on the quiz you just took, it said find the volume of nitrogen or calculate the pressure of oxygen. All 5 of those questions had how many compounds? 1. This question has how many compounds? 2. So this question, because it has 2 compounds and it has the word combustion, means you're going to have a reaction. So yesterday, we wrote the reaction for combustion. And I reminded you, if you forgot how to do that, there's nothing wrong with using your orange reference tables, flipping to page 6, and going to number 5 and looking up combustion. All right, so C3H8 was your hydrocarbon. You add oxygen to it, and what are the 2 products you always get in combustion? Carbon dioxide and water. Now, at this point, if you're still having trouble balancing, please come see me, because you're going to hear me say this when we do the review. If you don't know how to balance, I don't want to know about it. Okay? When we're 2 days from the final exam or 1 day from the final exam, if you do not know how to balance, I don't want to know about it. Okay? At that point, I want to assume that 28 people know how to balance the equations. So we have 3 carbons. We have 1, so we're going to put a 3. We have 8. We only have 2, so we're going to put a 4. That's 6. That's 4. That makes 10. So we're going to put a 5. That, of course, has a 1 if you like to write the ones. Now, at this point, we have a balanced equation and we have a volume. That's all we have. So when we left, Nakaya said,
Put it in a chart.
she said we're going to put it in a chart. That's all we have. We have no equation.
Oh my God.
We have no equation that we can use.
Is it 350 of that?
Yep.
And you turn it to the oxygen?
Yep. So the only skill we have left, if we have no equation we can use, is our ability to draw a table. So we're going to draw a T-chart. Okay? So, given the information they gave us in the chart, we have 0.350 liters of propane. Now, yesterday, I talked about a volume-volume ratio. We're going to, instead of writing a mole-mole ratio, we're going to write a volume-volume ratio. Yesterday, if I go back in your notes for just a second, I had H2 plus Cl2 goes to 2HCl, right? And I had something like 1 milliliter of H2 goes to 1 milliliter of Cl2 becomes 2 milliliters of HCl.
Just use the coefficient.
Okay? The coefficients are the volumes, right? We're going to do the same thing. We're going to put it in a T-chart. Okay? So, whatever's on top goes where? On the bottom. So, liters of C3H8 goes on the bottom. Now, instead of going from moles to moles, we're going to go from volume to volume. All right? So, what compound do we want to go to? What does it say up there? Oxygen. So, we're going to go to oxygen. Only instead of going moles to moles, we're going to do it volume to volume. So, instead of putting moles on top, we're going to put what other volume unit on top? What volume unit is right here? We're going to put liters on top. Liters to liters. We could just as easily do it milliliters to milliliters. Okay? It doesn't have to be in liters. It can be milliliters to milliliters. It can be centimeters cubed to centimeters cubed. Okay? It's called a volume-volume ratio. Now, where did the units come from in a mole-mole ratio? The equation, the coefficients. So in a volume-volume ratio, where are the numbers coming from? Same place, the coefficients. So, since this is a volume, what's in front of C3H8? You put those there, and then you multiply and divide. All right, in this case, we're just multiplying because divided by 1 is not going to give us anything. So, 0.350 times 5, 1.5 liters of oxygen. Questions? Are we okay with that? All you do.
Are we gonna have the,
No, really?
I can show you that way on this, but I'm not going to.
I just want to know which one is testing on like.
A different way, like a longer way.
In that one, some of you will figure out how to do it a different way than I'm going to show it to you. And if you do, I will certainly accept it that way. Okay? It's not the way I'm going to show it, but a lot of you will figure it out on your own, and it's fine. You will. All right. I don't care if you write it down or not. Do you want me to give you time or no?
Yes.
Okay. You need a what?
I was really just talking to myself, but I was saying I needed a month break, not a week. That really wasn't funny.
We all want one, Joyce, but we're not getting
Gonna have
one.
a summer.
You get tomorrow off, you get Memorial Day, and then we get summer. But you just got to suck it up till then. We all want it badly. right, we there?
Well, this is a 4-line paragraph. No.
You could talk less and write more.
5. I am writing.
Yes, and talking quite a bit too.
So can I please listen to that?
No.
Look, I'm paying attention. I don't.
If Miss Curry walked in, she would have a stroke.
Well, if she
And I-
walked in now, she'd have a stroke. That's okay. I know how to hop up. Let me tell you, I can cover my tail all the time.
I'm sure.
As soon as I hear that door pop open.
All right, so when you look at this, is the equation written?
No.
Would you recognize, if this was a test question next week, that you needed to write the equation? Because some of you would not.
Yes, because it says same temperature and pressure.
All right. I hear same temperature and pressure. All right, that's one indicator. All right, so you know there's no formula that goes there because it said same temperature and pressure. Jayla said something else that's important.
React.
All right, it says completely reacts. That right there should tell you you're going to need a balanced equation. Okay? Between those two things, you should recognize you're going to need a balanced equation. So, what things are reacting here? All right, so hydrogen plus oxygen. Do we know anything about them? Diatomic. What'd they make?
Water.
How do I write water? H2O. Is it balanced? No? All right, what am I putting where?
4 on the H is 2 on the H2.
You put a 2 on the H2O, I heard, and I missed the first thing.
And 2 on the H.
Okay. All right, so from there, we said if we had the same temperature and pressure, that tells us there's no formula, right? So anytime there's no formula, it tell us we're drawing a T-chart. Is everybody okay with that process?
Yeah.
All right. So once we know there's no formula and there's a T-chart, what starts on the top line of my T-chart? All right, I hear 4.55. What do I have? Liters of what? Okay. What am I going to on the top? Okay, hydrogen. And what unit goes with it? Liters, right? It's a volume-volume ratio. So if that's a volume-volume ratio, where do the numbers come from? Coefficients. All right, so what coefficient goes in front of? So is that 9.10? Issues.
I think this is easier than what we're
Is this the answer?
Yeah.
I swear.
It's not.
That's easy, Annabelle.
But I'm not gonna remember that.
Maybe you put it in a chart.
Yes, my dear. What may we do for you this fine day?
Ms. Boston said you have a Saturday school contract.
Yeah. All right, y'all do that one. You've got two written down. Y'all just find it in. You gotta write the equation. Use your reference table. Okay.
Oh, you gotta,
What volume?
Oh.
Yeah, I wrote that too.
Yeah.
Because it says water.
Water.
reacts.
Well, what's sodium?
Well, what is sodium?
You don't need to drop out.
Because I'm illiterate.
Oh, okay.
You're not illiterate.
Ms. Wall, what's sodium? Ms. Wall, what is sodium?
NA?
I love it. I usually know it, but I can't say it.
I think it's this. Kevin, did you write this? You know what I mean.
It might be a
What am I looking for?
So, I don't know.
This is all I don't know.
So which one is it?
Really? We're this close to the exam and you can't find the metal in the equation? I have not pulled it. This is a periodic table. Where are the metals out of that periodic table? Yes. So which one of those elements over there is a metal? Yes.
Okay, where did that come from?
That's just the formula you follow. Don't worry about where it came from. Plus? Yeah. Now, the oxidation number for that? Put it over right there.
It's just
Now,
not.
Joy, I know that, but you need to double check before you have some subscript you miss and you balance wrong. Because remember, the balancing is how you get your coefficient.
Bro, I don't know.
Now we have to balance.
Yeah.
What if we can do this? No, I meant like the balancing. We have to balance this stuff.
Everybody's getting technical balance. I'm just saying how many like to walk outside.
Well, we didn't go over this now.
Okay.
So then.
Oh, yeah.
You got H's here.
Yeah,
Don't add, no. Y is right. How many H's you got? 2 plus is 4. Yes. How many O's?
Well, help me, help me.
How many H's you got?
Well, you didn't have to.
4 plus 4, which is 8 H's.
Voila, that's so easy.
Why did everything have to be Alright. So when you wrote the equation. What? Come on now, Lasia. I'm gonna dive all day.
Annabelle, I actually helped Annabelle. She got it.
Let me do it on the board.
No.
Let me do it on the board.
You can't explain it.
I can.
You
Let
cannot.
me do it.
Not to my satisfaction.
Why? Why? I'm
No.
gonna do it good.
No, you're not. Sit down. No, you're not.
I have all the words shown.
Is it 2 and a 4 on the chart?
For you,
Okay.
Now, sodium plus water. When you look that up, most of you had no trouble finding it under the singles place, right? Now, most of you. When you found that, it said MOH plus H2 on your reference table, right? So you put Na with OH and plus H2. Now, it's important when you do that you flip your reference table. I'm going to borrow to see it easier. How's your periodic table? The reference table. It's not the same thing. That you flip and you check your oxidation numbers. All right? And you check OH's oxidation number for whatever polyatomic ion you have, and you check to make sure that they cancel out. All right? If you didn't do that, you got lucky. Because if they don't cancel out, let's say for a moment that I didn't give you Na. Let's say for just a second that I gave you Mg. Okay? All right? Now, if you don't check your oxidation numbers, yeah, it is plus 2. So this should have had a 2 here. Would your equation have balanced the way you balanced it? No, which means your coefficients in the chart will be wrong. Which means your answer will be wrong. Okay? My point in that is, when you write your equation, make sure you do what we used to do. When you write a compound, you have to check the what? Oxidation numbers. Don't assume that I gave you something that's a 1 and a 1 or a 2 and a 2 that's automatically going to cancel out, because I may not have done that. Okay? I like to trip you up. Assume that I will have done that on the test. All right? So check your oxidation numbers and make sure they canceled out. Now, most of you have a 2, a 2, a 2, and a 1. Now, the nice thing about stoichiometry with putting in a chart is, if you're Nylasia, she had 4, 4, 4, and 2 for her coefficients. Did it matter that her coefficients were too large? No, it'll work itself out in the chart. So, everybody started with 15.6 liters of water. Liters of water. And you went to liters of what? Hydrogen. So, you had a 1 and a 2 there, and you got 7.8 liters of hydrogen. Now, any questions about that? Feel okay about it?
Yes.
Yes? Fabulous. Now, the last type of problem we need for the test. All right, for those of you who like titles, it's PV equals nRT, or volume mass stoichiometry.
It's new.
Yep.
Oh.
All right. I actually put it up here on the board. Can't believe I actually did it. Normally I don't, but I must have been forward thinking this time. This is a new title for a new topic.
I know, but what is that?
That's the title, volume mass stoichiometry. Now, there are no notes to go with this.
Yeah.
Okay? You don't have to write it down. I'm correct. That's the title for those people who take notes.
Is there gonna be?
They're just sample questions.
Is it long?
Yeah.
That's a yes.
I don't have an answer for you.
No, they do yes, because you take up a lot.
I think I didn't get on the paper.
I struggle to fit it on the board.
Extra.
All right? Now, volume mass stoichiometry, I'm going to solve it using PV equals nRT. Some of you will gravitate towards big M. If you solve it with big M, it's fine. I don't solve it with big M in class because it requires a 4-step chart. So that's why I answered Destiny's question with no. You do not have to use the longer charts. Some of you will figure it out. Every year on the test, I have 2 or 3 people in the room who solve it with big M, solve it correctly with big M, and do a 4-step chart. Okay? It is not required. I'm not teaching it that way in class. Some of you, on your own, will figure it out. Okay? There's nothing wrong with doing it that way. If you figure it out, more power to you. Okay? I'm not teaching it that way in class. It can be done. If you want to know and you do it wrong and want it fixed, I'll be glad to show you how to fix it. But I'm not going to teach you that way in class. Okay? I'm going to teach you with a two-step chart. I'm going to teach you with a volume ratio, since that's the way we're learning how. It can also be done with a mole ratio. And I'll tell you how to do that too. All right, there's your problem. Write it down, we're going to do it. You have all the skills you need. So there are no notes I need to give you. You have the skills. We just need to talk about combining the skills. There is nothing new that you need.
We do.
Hey, you really have time to play on your phone.
Yes.
Perhaps I should pull up your read and refresh your memory.
Um,
Hey, get off your phone.
Heard on memory.
Shut up, sis.
Now, does this question look similar to anything you saw today?
Yeah.
Write it down yet.
I know you're writing it down, but does it look
You
like
can't
something
read
similar?
it if you don't. You gotta
A
think.
bust.
You can't read while you're writing?
Ew, no.
Ew, no.
It's small, no. Who does that?
Okay.
If you
Clearly,
read while you write.
clearly not y'all.
Yes, you have to write, then you have to read.
Okay.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
fine. If you do that, you're gonna write something dumb and go back and read it like what intonation.
That's it.
I wouldn't want you to combine skills over there.
Oh.
I see combustion STP.
I see combust and produce.
You know you did that word.
And
Okay,
propane.
well.
I feel like we're writing an equation.
Oh, propane, oxygen, CO2.
That's why is 0 equals 0.
Huh?
Why does 0 equal 0?
Just does. All right. So if we take out the word combust, does it look similar to something you saw today?
The grams of propane was also combined.
I see combust.
I know how to put it in the little,
Tommy
I know how to make this down thing.
Does it look like anything you saw on the quiz today?
Similar, yes.
It looks similar. Okay. You've got STP this time. All right. So we've got a pressure. We have a temperature. We have a volume. All right. We have grams. So we could either, for the most part, pick big M or PV equals nRT based on what we know in this question, right? The thing that makes it different is it says propane combusts with oxygen. All right? So we know we need a balanced equation. Now, whenever you need a balanced equation, my suggestion to you is to use PV equals nRT. Now, that's not a hard and fast rule. Some of you will gravitate to big M. If you use big M, it's fine, but it's a 4-step chart instead of a 2-step chart. All right, which is why I suggest PV equals nRT. The reason is big M has what in it? Moles or mass? It has mass. So you have to go from a gram to a gram. Grams to grams is how many steps? 4, which is why I don't teach it that way. Okay? If you use big M is a mass problem. So you have to start in grams and convert to grams. So grams to grams is how many steps? It's 4. If we do this one, we can use a volume or a mole, which is how many steps? 2, which is why I teach it this way. Okay? But some of you will naturally gravitate to big M. Knock yourselves out. All right, so we're going to use PV equals nRT. If you do it that way, I can still look at your work and figure it out. Now, what's our pressure? I thought you were clipping like a hangnail. I didn't realize you were trimming all your fingernails. All right, what is temperature? All right, what's R? Now, those are the things that everybody always does well. Even if pressure and temperature had been in different units and you had to convert it, most of you are going to be fine. The thing that causes issues are moles and volume. Okay? So, in this question, you have to keep track of what they gave you and what they want. First of all, I'd never give you propane and not tell you what propane is. That's my fault because we just used
What
it.
is C8?
All right. It's C3H8. So I want you to find grams of propane, and I gave you 5 liters of what?
CO2.
Liters of CO2. Okay? So you're given 5 liters of CO2, and it's different from the ones on the quiz. You have to change compounds.
And then some.
So this right here has to change into propane. All right?
So then you just put it in the chart.
So what, Nakai said?
Okay. So since we're given volume, we're going to change. Now, if we're going to use a volume ratio, what do I have to have? I don't have it yet, do
See,
I?
this is wet, Miss Wall.
So we got to write an equation so we can do a volume ratio.
And probably had it.
I already wrote the equation a minute ago, so this shouldn't be hard. All right, so propane is what? C3H8 plus what? And what products do we get? All right. Is it balanced? No. We just balanced this one a minute ago, so this should be easy. How many C's? 3. So we're going to put a, and how many H's? So we're going to put a 4.
And then 5 in front of it.
Next 10 there, 6 plus 4, so we're going to put a 5. Is everybody okay with the equation? Okay. So this is what we just learned how to do. We're going to put in a ratio. So what did we just learn how to do?
Put it in a ratio.
Okay, so what do I do? Tell me what I do with this 5 liters of CO2.
Put it in the first part.
Okay, so I draw a chart. What goes on top?
5 CO2.
All right, Joyce, tell me what goes on the bottom.
Liters of CO2.
Good. What goes on top? What are we going to?
Propane.
Yeah, so what goes on top? What goes on top then?
Liters of
Yeah. All right, Annabelle, where the numbers come from?
She's not even paying attention.
I am paying attention. From the coefficient.
So what's in front of liters of CO2?
3.
What's in front of propane?
Is that the? Oh, what? I don't know.
What's 5 divided by 3?
Like,
All right, 1.66 work of propane.
6.
All right, are we okay with the volume? So that means we're not using this volume anymore. We're using that 1.66 liters of propane.
Correct.
Now we have the same question that you guys worked on the quiz.
Then you just plug it in.
Now you just plug it in and get the answer.
So yeah, make sure all our compounds match before we can plug it in. That's so easy.
All you had to do was change the compound. That's the stoichiometry piece.
why is this so much easier than what we did on the quiz today?
It's not. It's the same thing you did on the quiz today.
Absolutely.
All right, I got to change it for Caleb because I need to extend the page. All right, so PV equals nRT. Pressure is 1. Volume is 1.66. And we don't know. 0.0821. And temperature is 273. N equals 1.66 divide 0.0741 moles. You done trimming your nails? Oh, popping them all off too.
Yeah, I have work tonight, and I don't think it's gonna look good if I only have 2 on. Right now I have 3.
All right, so that's the part I need.
That
All right.
So a little.
So we're in moles. The question said mass, right? So the last step is to change it to grams.
Why would you have to change it to grams?
Because it said mass.
But mass is in moles in that one, ain't it?
Mass is always grams. All right, so C3H8.
Oh my god.
So how many C's? H times 12 times 1. What's that? 24, 36, 8, 44. Did I do that right?
Yeah.
I think that's right. We might want to double check my math.
Double check my math.
I hope I'm right.
Ms. Wall,
Yep.
your batteries are low. Recommend change the batteries.
Get a new.
Bring it here.
I'm not gonna get it.
Really? It's a long walk, I know.
Yes. Oh, it's three.
I pulled the batteries out. So go with it.
All
All right, everybody got it? All right, now let's go backwards. Let's start in grams and go to volume.
This says
Oh my God.
Go backwards. Grams and go to volume.
No.
No, it's just backwards. We can do this.
like this.
It's the opposite.
How many? Okay, I'm gonna try and do that. What was the answer?
Very long.
Yeah.
I even wrote the equation.
Okay, that helps. Is it balanced? Yeah.
It's even balanced.
This is the test gonna be on the test.
Huh?
This is gonna be on the test.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's tough.
Each of these are 10 points each on the test.
Oh god.
How many of these are?
These require the most work, so the most points on the test.
How many of these are?
2. This is 20 points to the test.
Yeah, tell me
One
how many
each.
alive.
So do you have to?
I'll be here Thursday.
I can't even freaking come today because I have a beta meeting, then I have work at 4.
It's
But
not
we
my fault.
don't care.
Stop forgetting.
Just have
No.
What are you gonna bring up my grades wrong? If I stay in beta, not make up the test.
Nobody knows how.
Since when? I was in the induction ceremony. I never see at the meeting.
How many hours do you
Missed the
have?
last 3 hours. You only have to go one, yeah. I was good for the first one. Me too. Did you get your volunteer hours?
Yeah, I have like 1 and 2.
I have 11, and I stopped.
I thought you had.
Not that young.
Yeah, it's kind of.
All right, you have it written?
Baby, no. Come on now.
No, I'm going to do it with you.
Come on down this way. It's too late. Right, it's too late. I didn't even write it down.
I was going to work it with you since it's the opposite. I didn't figure you'd know what to do.
I don't know how to do it anyway. I'm just converting everything.
Oh, okay. Well, keep going with the converter. I just put it up here with the conversions.
So the 875 goes with the tungsten oxide, right? And then the other two numbers go with hydrogen.
All of them, remember, the temperature and pressure is not going to change. It's true for WO3 and hydrogen. So the pressure and the temperature are the same for WO3 and hydrogen. Temperature and pressure is not going to change.
So what's more? What are you talking about?
This pressure and this temperature are the same for WO3 and hydrogen. You have to change the WO3 for the moles to the volume.
That did not make no lick of sense. Come on now. No lick.
I'm not sure no lick made sense.
Oh,
None of it made sense.
All right, is everybody okay with what I labeled?
Hold up, back up, let me write it down.
All right, so I changed torr to ATM, I changed Celsius to Kelvin, and they gave us grams of WO3, and I need to know liters of hydrogen. So are we okay with that?
Thank you.
What is it?
So, what would I do at this point?
Convert WO3 to.
Convert WO3 to what?
Ice.
It's in grams currently, so I need to change it to what? It's got to at least go to moles. Okay? We can't leave it in grams. Okay? So 1 WO3 tungsten is what? 170 something, 183. 183 point plus, what's that, 48? 231.8. So 875, I add 3.77. Now, you can stop there if you want, and it's fine. Or, some of you might have said, oh, I can do a mole-mole ratio here. And you could have kept going and go moles to moles there. Okay? And gone ahead and done your mole-mole ratio. Then just be quiet. Now, if you had said grams of WO3 to moles of WO3, and you wanted to go ahead and do moles of WO3 to moles of H2 right there, you could have. Okay? Remember when we went moles to moles back in the day? Okay, a 3-step chart from grams to moles, and then moles to moles. You can do that there if you want. Okay? I'm not going to do that right now. All right? Because I'm teaching using volume ratios today. So, I just changed it from grams to moles, just like you did on the quiz. All right? So now,
So why don't you don't have to change the WO thing to H hydrogen?
I do. I haven't done it yet. Now, so I've gone grams to moles. I've put everything in the right units, and I'm going to plug into PV equals nRT. So P is 0.98. Volume is what I don't know, 3.77, 0.0821, and 308. Divide by 0.98, divide by 0.98, and find my volume. Here's my calculator. So 3.77 times 0.0821, left out something, times 308, divide 0.98. I got 97.2.
I'm about to drop it off.
Yes.
All right, so that's liters of what?
No, W thing.
Liters of the W. Changed it. I'm all the way at the end of the question, and I haven't done a thing with that balanced equation.
Why couldn't you change
Okay?
it the first time?
I could have, which is what I said I could have done. I could have done a mole-mole ratio way back here if y'all wanted to. Okay? You could have done that if you wanted to. Okay? That's why I said you could have done that. But I'm not teaching it that way today because I want to use volume ratios. So you could have said 97.2 liters of WO3. Now we're doing it the way I want to do it. This is what we learned today. So I've got a volume ratio. What goes on the bottom? Liters of WO3. What are we going to? Liters of hydrogen. Where do the numbers come from? The coefficients. So hydrogen has a 3. WO3 has a what? And we're multiplying by 3. So what is that? Times 3? 291.6. That's why I gave you options. You choose the one that you like better. I can follow it either way. Okay?
If you did do the conversion to the mole thing, what would you just convert it there and then put it in the equation next time?
Yeah. My keys on my desk before you take them with you. And I have no way home this afternoon.
That's the.
All right, let's start homework.
Don't let her drive you home. Did you say homework?
I did say homework.
Look at the pretty column.
What kind of person gets homework? Who's Waldo?
Oh, great.
Yes, you do have a card.
Make sure you get a paper for Patricia and Cecilia. They're only fronts. I'm gonna tell you which ones to do.
Did I?
Yes.
I'd rather Chevrolet.
No, I'm gonna tell you which ones. Go on. Go on, ladies. Here's the pace here. All right, on the one Cecilia gave you, the one that says 11-3. We're doing number 1, 2, 5, and 6. The one that says 11-3. 1, 2, 5, and 6.
That's a lot.
On the one that Patricia gave you.
Let's do one.
All right, we're doing 1, 3, 4. One that Patricia gave you, 1, 3, and 4. Okay, 1, 3, and 4. Yes. By the way, we did so well today. I think the test is Friday.
Oh.
No.
I'm done with new stuff. So we can review till Thursday. So the test is Friday, and I don't interfere with AP testing. Whoa.
Miss Walden, your brakes don't work. You said it.
What do you mean interfere with it? You said
Monday starts AP testing.
we don't care. We don't got to take one.
So have a great day off tomorrow. We will be reviewing Thursday. And the test is still Friday.
I'm blowing up.
Bye. Have a great day.
Come here, Carol.
Great.
I heard you made him excited.
We moved a little faster than I thought, and the test I thought was going to be Monday could be Friday.